Hello and welcome to this Monday night edition of the Niall Fraser Show. Thank you for joining us. Almost 100 people watching already. This is incredible stuff. We've not even started yet. Tonight we're discussing, the report that I've done from this Glasgow safe consumption room. We've got so much more images to share with you. I'll tell you exactly what happened. I'll run through exactly what happened on the day. Then we're over in Dundee to this tribunal where the Scots Doctor, who didn't do biology at school, and then we'll slide over to Keir Starmers HIV Test. Very, very bizarre story here. And then we've got the papers at the end. But first, we can't start the show without our fantastic intro music. So let's get this party started, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday night edition of the Niall Fraser Show. It's the 10th of February. Again, we're racing right through February. Again, just to let everyone know, there won't be a Friday show this week because it is, of course, Valentine's Day. Right, so where do we begin with this? Well, first of all, let's just credit the viewership. Well over 100 viewers now before we've even kicked a ball. We're breaking new records here at the Niall Fraser Show. absolutely incredible viewing figures indeed. Absolutely incredible. And thank you all for tuning in. Please do share the broadcast because it's going to be quite a spicy one. And I'm going to give you a more sort of in-depth look as to what occurred on Saturday afternoon. Well, when I took a trip over to Hunter Street in Glasgow, in Carlton, just near the Barrowlands, just right next to the Barras. And I just documented just the absolute worst situation that I've ever seen in terms of dirty needles, drug paraphernalia, you name it. Talking to just numerous addicts, maybe 6 to 10 addicts. And we took one for coffee in the Morrisons. I'll tell you the whole story. But behind the scenes look at what actually happened. But I'll play the video first. At this time, the video has, let me see, the video has just under 60,000 views in less than 24 hours. So I think that's good going, but it deserves more, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll play the report, and then you can see for yourself. I've got way more images that I could include in the video. So I'll be talking through, I'll give you more information than this report. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
On Saturday, I spent the day speaking with addicts and investigating Scotland's new safe consumption room on Hunter Street. And stay tuned, because you will not want to miss what I've found and dug up. All the journalists, all the news organisations are missing the real story here with this centre. The Scottish media class, they descended on this clinic as it opened. They did their videos, they took some photos. They would have been in and out within 15 or 20 minutes, while I spent hours there. The coverage of this story has revolved around the argument about whether we should be providing addicts with drugs and a place to inject those drugs that are illegal in any other postcode, when I'm telling you that the real story here isn't the moral quandaries that are surrounding the centre as a concept, but the impact of the centre on the surrounding area, particularly the Morrisons directly opposite the consumption rooms, as well as many other areas in the local vicinity. This is a map of the area, and here we have the consumption room outlined in blue and the Morrisons outlined in red, and as you can see, they're so close in proximity that you could move between the two in 30 seconds. And 30 seconds was all it took for me to find the first cluster of discarded needles. And I'll tell you something that happened that made me feel absolutely rotten, sad. When I was photographing this first cluster of needles, found right here on the map, I turned round and a family was walking past, having just done their shopping. The family looked at me and says, you know, as if to say, what's he taking pictures of? And they all looked down to where I was pointing the camera, and their eyes were drawn to the needles. So I said to the dad, please keep your kids back. And he nodded, said, yes, we know. I felt so rotten for inadvertently drawing attention to the discarded needles that their kids might have seen. And their eyes are too innocent to gaze upon such things. Children should not be subjected to this. This level of depravity has no right entering their subconsciousness in the first place, and I would never bring my children to shop at this particular Morrisons unless I had no other options, because I'm telling you all right now that where children could wander and explore, where pets could run about, there are definitely hundreds, but I reckon there are as many as close to 1,000 dirty disposed needles, and I'll put a montage on the screen for you to see just how bad it is. And that's not even the worst of it, ladies and gentlemen. We as the public are led to believe that addicts are entering the consumption room with their own purchased drugs, which is the case for some of them. But what they aren't saying is that the majority are going in to get their free hit of medical grade heroin from the clinic. This is what the addicts outside were telling me. I was informed they go in and they're handed a kit made up for the night before with a fresh needle, medical grade heroin, diamorphine. If they can't put the needle in their arm themselves, then a staff member will assist. In essence, our own Scottish government are putting medical grade heroin into the veins of Scots themselves. Imagine you're an addict and you go into the clinic seeking help, and on one hand they've got the 12-step recovery programme. And on the other hand, they've got a needle primed with medical grade heroin. What choice is that? What sort of chance have these people got? It's absolutely deplorable. When these addicts then exit the doors of the consumption room back into the public, having just had a hit of heroin, then inevitably more problems begin to arise. Right across the road, they go into Morrison's, into the corners of the car park, into the bushes, where they're taking heroin and oftentimes in full view of the public. While I was there, people were actively taking Class A drugs. These addicts were more than happy to allow me to photograph them smoking crack cocaine, so long as I didn't get their faces. All of this happening in the middle of the afternoon. Looking at the timestamp on the photo, it was taken at precisely 2:55 p.m. on Saturday afternoon in broad daylight. You know, there are distinct and separate issues in play when it comes to this consumption room. You know, starting with the obvious, I think it's downright wrong to enable drug addicts in this manner by putting up a consumption room in the very first place. It sets a very dangerous precedent and floats the notion in Scotland here that there is somehow a safe way to take heroin and other Class A drugs. Secondly, now that this consumption room is in place and operational, this must be having firstly a financial impact on Morrison's, who must pay fortunes and rates, and secondly a psychological impact on the staff in Morrison's, having to be on high alert, having the need for 2 security guards on the doors. And lastly, the Morrison's car park is now a public health risk. As I mentioned earlier, hundreds if not thousands of discarded needles. It only takes one child to stray off the path, to fall onto a needle, hurting himself or herself and potentially contracting HIV, which one of the addicts confirmed to me on Saturday that he was positive. And he takes a tablet a day to make it intransmissible. You know, I'll finish with this. These so-called safe consumption rooms, you're costing the taxpayer £7 million over 3 years, so they can afford to spend this amount of money on giving drugs to addicts, on providing fresh needles, on complimentary teas and coffees, but they can't find 40 grand a year to send somebody across the road to clean up all these discarded needles. What a shocking indictment that is, truly. You know, thanks for watching this, but please share this story and get it out there. Let's shame the Scottish Government into cleaning these streets. The people of Carlton deserve better, that's for sure.
Right, so tell me what you thought about that one, ladies and gentlemen. That took me, well, the actual site itself, it takes quite an emotional toll to you, and I can't imagine living in that area having to shop at that Morrison's every other day, every other week, because it's absolutely startling, the amount of needles. It's in your face. You can't escape it. So let's get the banner up. Consumption room trip report. Right, and we've got tons of images to go through, tons of images that I could not include in the video because it was just that I had so many images taken. You know, and it just, you know, it gets crazier and crazier. And the disparity between, you know, I've got an image that sort of symbolises the disparity between those who have lots and those who have little to fuck all. And it's absolutely shocking, this place. So first of all, here's the map. Here's the map that was in the video. So in the blue, you've got the Thistle, the safe consumption room, and I've outlined it with the wee road reading in. Because see where the blue outline ends. The blue outline ends, and this is where the addicts congregate. So having talked to them, and again, I was there for about 12 o'clock in the afternoon to just over 4 o'clock. And for what I've seen, it's just absolutely incredible. So just with this blue outline, just at the end of the road, that's where they congregate. So we park the car up, we walk across, and we see a group of addicts, clearly. So we go and talk to them, engage with them, ask them what they feel, how they feel about the centre. So, you know, a fair amount of mixed views, if I'm honest. A lot of them saying, that's fantastic. A lot of them saying, no, I don't agree with it. And this is, bearing in mind, after they've taken the drugs inside the place. They still don't agree with it. So we've got mixed responses from the addicts themselves. You would think they would be the biggest supporters of the thing. So, and then just as we walked in here, as we can see, there's a sort of extremity to where this red outline is, you know, the furthest west, the western point. There is a wee path that connects Hunter Street to the Morrisons, and you can walk in that way. And you can see just sort of right in almost in the middle. And of course, there's gaps in the wall, there's a space in the wall. So this boundary here that separates the Hunter Street Road from Morrisons is surrounded by a wall. And right over the street from the consumption centre, there's obviously people are just jumping the wall and doing the drugs right in these bushes. I don't know if you can see my cursor here, but I'm sort of floating over these bushes that are directly opposite the Thistle Centre. This is what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to get a more accurate report than what I have produced. You just won't. And of course, I mean, what was startling to me was that when we're engaging with the addicts, of course, you're talking with them like, what are you taking in there? What's happening in there? And he says this guy travelled from Darnley. It was like an hour on the bus. And he goes in and a needle is prepared, diamorphine's put in, medical grade heroin is put in from the clinic. He's not taking it in. He's been given it from the clinic. And he takes his diamorphine and off he goes. Right out into the public, right out into the streets. I just think it's so irresponsible. It's incredible. But of course, we then track the exact same gentleman. We take him for coffee in Morrisons. And I mean, we invited all the addicts for coffees in Morrisons just to sort of, you know, sort of guide them to recovery as well. You know what I mean? Life does not revolve around taking heroin every other hour. So we take them into Morrisons. And again, this is where you sort of get, this is where the story takes, I mean, if it wasn't already dark, it takes a sort of another dark turn. So you go into Morrisons and you're with these addicts and you're making a beeline for the cafe. And the looks that we were given when we walked into that Morrisons, it told the whole story. It really did. They looked as if we were lepers. That's what the looks were. And, you know, I'm walking around and I'm seeing everyone's eyes are trained on us, trained on the addicts. Everyone in the store, the security guards, the tellers on the tills, the people packing the bags, the customers, the people taking donations at the door with the bucket, everyone, all the eyes are trained on us. Why is that? Because they're obviously known individuals. You know, I'm not even sure if I should be telling this story, but one of the addicts says, you know, just a few weeks earlier, he had stole a couple of bottles of whiskey at the shop. I mean, this is exactly what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. This is absolutely crazy stuff, but it gets worse. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So, I mean, I'll show you a couple pictures of the needles, and I've got so many pictures here to show you. But I mean, this is just one needle, right? And I mean, you get different types of needle. I've noticed. You know, I'm no the world's biggest expert on needles. Of course, I'm not. But you get all these different types, and you'll see there in the middle. In the middle, you'll see all these white packages. You'll see there's a bottle of, I think it's like protein shake or something like that. But next to the protein shake, you see this white. It's like an envelope, and in this envelope is enclosed needle. I think it's a burning spoon, which you can see just right next to the curb. I mean, I wish you could see my cursor here, because in this image, let me get the banner down so you can see it. So up to the curb, you see these metal burning spoon things. 1, 2, 3 at the curb. You see these 2 empty packets. You see a needle just below the curb. You see a needle on the curb, after the curb. So I'm counting them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, tell me how many needles you're finding in this picture. 8, and you're getting these bottles of solution, these sort of alcohol solution swabs or whatever it is. All of this is being discarded. They're obtaining these packs from the centre and they're discarding them here. And I'll tell the story again. Like, the only thing that these addicts were willing to part with, you know, we bought one of them tobacco and papers, and you would have thought the guy won the lottery. Honestly, I mean, these people have, you know, next to nothing. You know, not a penny to their name. It's absolutely shocking, right? Absolutely shocking. But the one thing they're willing to part with are these needle packs, because they're so prevalent. They can just go get another one. And you'll see as well, there's this thing on it. It says Orion Medical Supplies. And this company, we're doing some financial investigation into this company as well to see what's going on there. But on, and you'll all laugh, but on these packages, see Glenn Jackson saying, I can count over 14 of the burning spoons in that picture alone. We've got way more pictures. This is just one tiny portion. So these Orion packages, Orion Medical Supplies Limited, we might bring up them in Company's House later on. But this is the only thing that an addict is willing to part with, is one of these needle packs. Just remember that. They're so readily available. They're getting them for free. Addicts are getting them for free. But of course, the NHS are spending money on these things, aren't they? But on the package, it says, please dispose of your waste responsibly. I mean, you actually can write this stuff. It's so mental. So these packages that contain needles, they know that people are using them to shoot up heroin and other drugs. And then what? After they've shot up, they've to dispose of the litter responsibly. What a big joke this is. So let's just roll through the pictures. So here is one of the corners in the car park, right? So it's just out of view. I should really put the map up, right? But see this boundary here, this green boundary. So across the Hunter Street, you've got this group of bushes directly opposite. This goes right round towards in the north of the picture, right along to the very end, and it becomes a corner. And in the corner, well, this is the corner. So, you know, count how many needles you can see in this picture. I'm seeing, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's 19 just at a glance, 20, 21. And of course, all these swabs, the needle caps, empty bottles, all the drug paraphernalia you could possibly imagine is there. Everything's there. And this is, I think, a picture of where I took, where I was zooming in on some of the needles that are very, 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 very close to the Morrisons' actual path, the path leading out of the Morrisons. And you know, see all of this, the biggest victims in all of this is the Morrison store and their staff. And I'm telling you that now. And I think Morrisons should be getting either they've already been in an agreement with the Scottish government or the centre to receive a sort of compensation package, or to pay for extra security or whatever it is, because it's having such a dramatic impact on Morrisons and the staff that it's crazy. I bet the level of shoplifting has went up. You know, I bet their sales are down because people are just refusing to shop at the store. So and again, Morrisons are a huge employer, not just here, but across Britain. And they're being treated like this by the Scottish government. What a scam. What a dereliction of duty that is. Because, see, the way it's going is that this Morrisons will only be here very long. That's my estimate. That they won't be here very long. So this is, again, it's the photo. I think this is the opposite view from this picture. So I'm trying to get a picture of these needles. And again, this is the, you know, I do tell the anecdote in the video, but I felt really, really bad when I was taking a picture of this, and a family was walking past with toddlers. It could be 3, 4 years old. This is what they're subjected to. And again, I didn't want to have to draw attention to it. I turned my back to take a picture, and there they are coming at the shop. I didn't mean to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, I didn't. And I wouldn't tell you the story unless it had a sort of emotional effect on me, because I didn't want anybody's kids to have to see this stuff. I say in the video, it shouldn't be entering their subconscious at all. They shouldn't be sort of subjected to this level of depravity. They absolutely should not. So let's roll on. More needles. I don't know what they're doing with these CDs, but there's a fair amount of discarded CDs and CD cases. So I don't know if they're containing drugs in the CD cases, or they're using the CDs in order to take, cocaine or whatever it is. But they're using these CDs in some way. But I mean, this is just the depths of depravity here, and it's right across the road for the centre. Here, this is where we encounter. So in the back, you see 2 people there, or 3 people, taking crack cocaine. Obviously, you'll see needles all the way up this path. I mean, this is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're sitting on one of these. I think what a basket, what sort of basket that is, but they're sitting on a basket, and they're just doing crack cocaine. Right there, broad daylight, across the road, and not even across the road, in the Morrison's car park. That's the effect. That's the effect that this centre's having, that the safe consumption room's having. Again, it's just another picture of them. Just a trail of needles and discarded needle packs all the way up to where they're sitting, taking this crack cocaine. Here's the corner again. And here's the crack cocaine itself. I'm just like, can I get a picture? I'm quite brazen when it comes to these things as well, right? So I'm just like, hey, can I get a picture of you taking crack cocaine? And they're like, aye, neighbour. Can you believe this? Can you believe that? Can you believe it? I think that's just another picture. It's just another, you can see his wee hand moving there. That's just another picture there. And there's the crack cocaine there. Happily show me it. There it is. I'm like, how much is that? That's 0.2 of a gram. 0.2 of a gram of crack cocaine. How much does it cost? £20. I'll just leave that on the screen. Just leave that on the screen there for you to digest. This is happening in Morrison's car park on a Saturday afternoon in broad daylight, with families in and out the shop. Addicts are roaming all over the place. It's not a safe environment. And like I said before, like all these needles, I mean, it's easily hundreds of needles, easily in the high hundreds of needles here. But it could be close to thousands and thousands of needles. And this is the real story that the Scottish press aren't picking up on. I have to do it for you. I have to break the story that actually the impact on this on the surrounding area is of greater threat to normal everyday working people. Their kids could be walking about. Their kids could be walking about the Morrison's car park. You might say wait outside for me now. In fact, I doubt that parents will say wait outside, because it's just not safe. So I reckon it's going to have a severe financial impact on Morrison's. It might even drive Morrison's out. They won't, lose entirely, all their business due to this, but it'll become harder to make sales. It'll be harder to retain staff. I think the element of staff safety here needs to be pointed out, because again, the story of taking them into Morrison's for a coffee, I'm telling you, all eyes in the shop, all staff members in that Morrison's, right for the cleaner to the tellers, to the security, to the cafeteria staff. All trained on us with fear in their eyes. That's the truth. Any ideas on if it's a £20 amount? Is that one go, two goes? How long does it last? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think they're doing that in one go. I think they're doing that in one blast. That's what I think. It's one blast. So, I mean, the impact on Morrison's is the story here. It's no the moral conjecture, the story, like, should it be there? Should it not? It's the fact that this is having real life implications on the people in the surrounding area. And you know what? These people had no say. These people had no say. And if it was this could come into their area, it was just planted there. And you know why it is planted there? Because it's quite a it's Carlton. It's quite a poverty-stricken area. That, I mean, people in a sort of for lack of a better word, a better area. This would never be accepted in the West End. That's all I'm saying. In the West End of Glasgow, they would not have accepted this place in. Just not in a million years. But the people of Carlton have to put up with this. It's just shocking. And you know, it's reminded me of my youth as well. You know, I used to travel through and see bands when I was in high school all the time. We went to the Barrowlands quite a few times. This is like 2-3 minutes away from the Barrowlands. And now that memory has been tainted by this. Because every time I think it, I think, oh, that centre's round the corner. It's just shocking. Absolutely shocking. But I did include this picture here. You know, all the things that sort of spark my imagination and think, you know, I think, what the hell is going on here? What is actually going on? They are not see the absolute worst off in society here. The absolute worst off. They're doing drugs right across these bushes in the back, in the corners. And what dare I say? It's a Bentley. Do you not think that's a bit odd, ladies and gentlemen? Do you not think the disparity, the sort of juxtaposition of this is a bit weird? Is it just me that thinks this? You know, that we've got people in our society here that are obviously wealthy enough. I mean, let's get the cost of this Bentley. Bentley cars. Let's see the cost, if we can. No, I don't want to request a test drive. Bear with me, guys. No, thank you. Your Bentley. Right. So it looks like one of these. Bentley Continental GT. That's what it is. How much are they? Right, so a Bentley Continental GT starts at £65,000 a car. It goes all the way up to £250,000. Right? So somebody's rolling about in what could conceivably cost somebody's whole house here, £240,000 to £250,000 top end for these cars. And there's people with not even 2 pennies to rub together in the bushes doing crack cocaine. Do you not think that's just absolutely bizarre? You know, I keep thinking to myself, why did I take this picture? I took the picture just because it just showcases the sort of this dystopian sort of society that we live. That we've got the ultra wealthy rolling about in cars that could cost up, you know, homes. We're talking houses here. And then right in the bushes behind the car, there's people with no 2 pennies to rub together doing crack cocaine. These pictures must have been taken within 5 minutes each other. Do you know, think that's absolutely bizarre, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think that's a massive condemnation on on the Scottish government. How can this happen? What's Brian Patrick McNulty saying? What is the government actually trying to achieve with the centre anyhow? Good question, Brian. What are they trying to achieve? Well, Scotland has got the highest drug deaths in Europe. The highest drug deaths in Europe. And a few years ago, they come up with this initiative. And you know, basically, it boils down to the fact, Brian, that the Scottish government need to be seen. Need to be seen. They don't actually need to solve an issue, but they need to be seen to be doing something that'll lower the numbers. Right? They need to lower the drug deaths. So, I mean, you'd think, well, you need to reduce the amount of addicts here. You need to reduce the amount of drug deaths, the drug taking, to curb the drug deaths. That's what a normal person would think. But what's actually happened, a few years ago, they come up with this initiative where they were equipping everyone with something called naloxone, which was an anti-overdose drug. So if you see somebody taking an overdose, you jab them with an naloxone in an attempt to save their life. Therefore, in the Scottish government side, we're bringing the numbers down. We're bringing the numbers down, ladies and gentlemen. Well, if you think that's the solution to Scotland's drug crisis, then, you know, I've got a bridge to sell you. It's just such a harebrained scheme. It might be nice to have these anti-overdose drugs, but it's not a solution to Scotland's drug death epidemic. But then let's get into this question. You know, what's the government actually trying to achieve? The Scottish government, and I truly believe this, and this is on me if I'm wrong, but you know, I'm no wrong about this. The Scottish government, all they want to achieve is the perception that they're doing something about the drug deaths. See if they can say, oh, we had 1,200 drug and alcohol deaths last year. And then this year, when this centre comes in, they can say, oh, we had 1,180. We're down 20. That means it's working. That's what they're trying to do. I mean, it's actually, these politicians, especially the SNP politicians, the folk that put this in place, they couldn't give two fucks about addicts. They couldn't give a flying fuck. They couldn't give a shit about these addicts. They just want the numbers done any way, shape or form. So they can look good. So they can look good. They didn't want to address the issue. Not at all. And that's why the Scottish media class, they can't wait to escape that area. They'll show up, they'll go into the centre, and they'll take their videos. And again, the press and the media were only allowed, I think it was a 2-day, 3-day window or whatever, where people could go in and do their media. And then that's closed off to the media. If you try to walk in that place, they'll kibosh you. They're like, whoa, no filming on the premises, please. No filming on the premises. Because that's it. The show's been done. The media's left. Fuck all else to talk about. No. The real story here is the Morrison's car park, is the impact that it's having on the locals, on the local area, on the local businesses, on the safety of these people. Because I'm telling you right now that this Morrison's car park is a massive public safety issue, and it needs to be resolved. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go back. We're going to go back time and time again until these needles are picked up. Because we have to shame them. We have to physically shame our government into action. And you know, all of these problems, with the needles and the discarded rubbish and all the paraphernalia that comes along with it, they're spending £7 million on this centre, and they can't send somebody across the road to pick the needles up with you know, an orange container and gloves. It's absolutely shocking. It's shocking. I mean, they've not even thought about it at all. It's disgusting. But Brian, that's what's happening. What are they trying to achieve? They're trying to look good, Brian. They're trying to look good, and they're trying to get the numbers done so they can look good. They couldn't give a fuck. But thanks for your question, Brian. And sorry I took so long to answer it. But let's just put the picture of the Bentley up again. Honestly, have you seen a more, 2 minutes away, a guy smoking crack cocaine? Crack being sold very, very nearby. Crack cocaine right next to a Bentley. Okay, does somebody not see anything wrong with this at all? Is it just me? Is it me that's being ridiculous here? Is it me? Is it me? I doubt it. No. Oh, you're very welcome, Brian. Thank you. Thanks for your question. It's just so annoying, looking at all this. And these addicts, a lot of them are just, they were down out in their luck. The addict was telling us a story over coffee. His brother died just last year. He took a seizure due to drugs. And the person that is with just watched him die. Just watched them die. And didn't call an ambulance, didn't do anything. Just watched them perish. They're quite prophetic, these addicts. We're asking them, when will this addiction crisis end? When will it end, we ask him. He says it'll only end when the world stops turning. Because he says there's always going to be addicts. There's always going to be drugs. I don't know what to say. I honestly, I don't know what to say. The idea of extreme poverty coexisting shoulder to shoulder with extreme wealth isn't a strange sight, if I'm honest. Well, I thought it was quite important to point out. But there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is. Avoid it at your peril. Do not, and this is a Niall Fraser warning here. Do not shop at this Morrison's with your kids. If you have to shop at it, don't take your kids. Because they don't deserve to see this level of depravity. They don't deserve to have to walk past a path and within eyesight there's 10, 15, 20 discarded needles. And the employees of Morrison's deserve better. And, we'll just continue to go back to this location time and time again until there's something done. Let's get John Swinney down there. Let's get him talking to the addicts. Will we have the proverbial balls to do it? I don't think so. But this problem needs to be addressed. And this is, I'm not acting on behalf of any party. I'm no, of course, I'm slating the SNP because they're absolutely scandalous in the first place, and they should never done this. But this issue affects everyone here. It really does. I'm not surprised if Labour, if Anna Sarwar was to take a wee trip down here, I wouldn't be surprised. If Russell Finlay was to take a trip down here, I wouldn't be surprised. And if you're listening, because I get the feeling it's mostly journalists and everything that just listen to me. Honestly, yeah, or a large portion of these people that are watching are journalists, or or working on behalf of parties on what to say, on what to do. Well, if I was to advise anyone of any party, I'd say get down to this car park immediately. Get down to there on a Saturday afternoon, on a Friday afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon, and see for yourself. Document it. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. It's outrageous. It's a public health disaster here. It's a disaster waiting to happen. It's scandalous. But, we need to get the media down here again. They need to come down again. Because we've got needles all over the shop. I mean, and going back to this one, this Orion Medical Supplies Limited. What an advert If we've got anyone listening that we could get this back to this company, Orion Medical Supplies Limited. What an advertisement this is for your company. Discarded needle packs or a public car park. What an advertisement. And on the body packaging, it says dispose of your needle waste responsibly. No, there needs to be something done about this car park. There needs to be done about it's not, and this won't just be this car park. There'll be other areas in the surrounding areas that I've not even checked out yet. It's just you could spend hours here. Needles everywhere, discarded waste everywhere. People taking crack cocaine, people shooting up in the bushes. I'll go back and I'll find more people, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry. People, people that are so brazen about what they're doing. Aye, come on in. Take a picture of me smoking crack. There it is right there. Take a picture. Wait, can you hold it still so I can take a picture? Aye, neighbour. Can you believe this? It's so damning for the Scottish Government. It really is. But there's your trip report. And, you know, I was just thinking about it on the car all the way home. I'm like, how the hell do you put this into words? I mean, what's the actual story here? Because we all talk about, every time we talk about the drug consumption, we're like, you see people saying, I think it's bad that it's there. I think it's a good thing that it's there. Well, hold on a minute. Let's forget that now and focus on the impact of this place. And this is the impact. They're doing heroin inside that's provided by the Scottish Government. So we get taxpayer funded heroin going into the arms of addicts. Would you like your tax money going to that? Would you like your hard-earned tax money going into a vial of heroin to be shot into the veins of another citizen? And you can't be serious. You can't be real here. This is what's happening. And he said, you know, and we ask him, what happens if you can't inject up yourself? Oh, they'll help us. They'll do it for us. So they're enabling them. They're so zoned out that they can't actually inject up themselves. So an NHS member of staff will do it for them. What a fucking disgrace. It's, I'm speechless. I'm actually speechless. But we'll go back to this time and time again until they're picked up. You've got my word on that, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you could dedicate a month to this and you wouldn't get the full story. Multiple months. It's just so insane. So if you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, you've just come to the end of the segment. Where we talked about, I mean, I went through the whole trip report. It's not just what I said in the video. It's not just the images that I said in the video. And there's other ones that I can't show you that have got people's faces in them. I'm just thinking about it, honestly. It's absolutely gone that this is happening in Scotland's biggest city. It's absolutely disgusting. Right round the corner, you know, memory generating venues like the Barrowlands, they don't deserve this. St. Luke's and the Wild Ox and that's just right round there. They do big bands and events and that. Morrison's themselves, they're a huge employer right across the UK and they're getting absolutely spat on here by the Scottish Government. That's the truth. It's shameful. The staff don't deserve it. The general public don't deserve it. Fucking hell, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking hell. I'm glad this segment's over. That's all I've got to say. But by the time I've went through this segment, the video will have been 60,000 views. So I've pinned it to the top of my profile. So if you're on my profile and if you're watching on X, which is the vast majority of people, almost 450, 420 are watching on X. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please do share this video. Let's get the Scottish Government shamed into action here. And if they don't do it off the back of this video, we'll just go back time and time again until they're forced into action. Because, like I said, they're spending £7 million on the facility itself, but they can't find money to pay somebody on an annual basis to go out and collect all these needles, or a team of folk to go and collect all these needles that are coming from the centre itself. It's absolutely shocking. So we've eclipsed 60,000 views on that video, and that is basically 24 hours. So it's doing the rounds. You know, some major publications might have picked up on it, or they should have picked up on it. Like Ian McIver of the Times was the only big one to sort of highlight it. But again, that's the real story of what's happening at this consumption room. They're being given, not all of them, a select few. You know, I don't know how this is even possible, but they're being given medical grade heroin, paid for by us, and they're being sent back out in the public after having taken their hit of heroin. I mean, the whole thing's just absolutely bonkers. It's backwards. It's disgusting. But that's the real story, ladies and gentlemen. And I encourage you to go and check it out for yourself. If you're looking for content, oh my God. The Streets Glasgow, you should definitely get them on the show to discuss this. The Streets, we're on the phone to Aldo. And we're meeting him up. We're meeting him. Already ahead of you there, Glenn. Thank you. Thanks for the tip. But we've fought 10 moves in front. So we have. That's what you get when you're a chess player. And, you know, what did I think? Maybe I did a video and, you know, people are saying, oh, but I'll give them time to go out and clean the needles. I'm like, good. Fucking good. Let's get them. Let's make them clean the needles up. That's a win. That's a win for the community. It's not about getting clicks. It's not about getting clout. It's about getting this place cleaned up at the end of the day. That's what it is. Right, so moving off of this topic, we spent almost an hour on it, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely shocking, but we're moving off. We're moving on topic. Thank the Lord, we're moving off topic. And we've got the Scots Doctor that doesn't know biology. Oh, and the story just goes arms and legs and gets worse and worse. And I said before, this tribunal case that's gone through in Dundee, Endeavour House, I think it's called, endeavouring to feed us fiction and just absolute. It's, you know, you could write a comedy sketch about this whole thing. It's just that nuts. Story goes, nurse that's been a nurse for what, 30 years or something. She's in Victoria Hospital in Kirkcaldy. You know, we've got this this male doctor who's just pretending to be a woman, wants to dress and get changed next to her, and she becomes uncomfortable, which she would. I'm sure this thing, you know, from the male perspective, you know, you feel naturally like bad if you can't intrude on a woman in that fashion, and it's seen as very, very, very wrong. But this guy's not got the same mentality. He in fact, he's taking them all to court. It's a big tribunal. It's a you know, it's a what is it? Unfair dismissal case, unfair disciplinary case about this doctor, and we'll go on to that later. But this doctor here, Dr. Upton, he wants to change next to other women. I don't think so. I don't think so. And we'll be going in. We've got a thread. We've got a thread that was very well done. So we'll start reading that. We've got the bookmarks first, right? So let's share this one. Bear with me, guys, and thanks for joining us for this segment. Stay with us because we've got. I mean, there's a lot to cover here, and then we're going to move on to Keir Starmer taking a HIV test. What is actually happening? This country's just become bananas. Bananas, ladies and gentlemen. Right, let's get this up on the screen. I'll take my wee face away so we can read it. And this is from Boswell today. You know, an account that I've followed for quite a long time. Very well considered account. You know, they've taken umbrage to certain things that I've done. They've supported certain things that I've done. But overall, they think for themselves. They're very intellectual, very reasonable account at Boswell Today. So what's at Boswell Today saying? Day 6, they're chronicling this Dr. Peggy versus NHS 5. And I said from the outset, before they wasted all this time on this case, that they may as well pay Nurse Sandy Peggy out immediately. We're wasting all this time in a tribunal and everybody else's time, but this is all just a colossal waste of fucking time. I mean, there's no other way to describe it, but it's just a fucking waste of time, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, you can't be real. It's case closed. What we're supposed to legislate for women feeling uncomfortable when a man wants to change next to them. You can't do that. It's impossible. And NHS 5 taking it to the lengths that they have. I hope they lose a lot of money for this, and I hope Sandy Peggy doesn't need to work another day in her life. Day 6, Sandy Peggy versus NHS 5. Dr. Upton's cross-examination continued today. And we'll see this picture. I'll put this picture up. This is Dr. Upton. I'm going to stop calling her Dr. Upton because she should be stripped of her medical degree. See, if you're in hospital and a man that's pretending to be a woman comes and tries to treat you. I mean, my normal assumption would be they're pretending to be a doctor as well. They're pretending to be a doctor. If they're pretending to be a woman, they can pretend to be a doctor. Don't get that needle away from me. Get away from it. Like, are you serious? You can't be real. and this is it. Like, and they've got the whole sort of trans brigade behind them. And you'll see on the left picture is this man's wife. He looks like, he looks like he's over the moon. Look at me. I'm getting my picture taken. She looks like she's just devastated on the left-hand side. Eyes just full of sorrow. I mean, a picture tells a lot of words, doesn't it? A picture paints 1,000 words. Well, look at this one. Look at the happy couple. The most left-handed of the screen, and it right in the centre. It's just crazy stuff. And the picture, copyrighted by Ian Masterton. Great photographer here in Scotland, and he's clearly on the scene here. So, Ian, thank you for your work. Fantastic work. It's just, we'll go into this story about this couple. But first, let's go back to the thread itself by Boswell Today. Dr. Upton's cross-examination continued today, and it was none short of disastrous. Under sustained questioning from Naomi Cunningham, he admitted that he knew Sandy Peggy was uncomfortable sharing the changing room with him, but carried on anyway. Red flag. Red flag. Boom. I mean, it's actually, I'm telling you, this case should never have made it to this tribunal, honestly. NHS 5 are going to lose a fortune here, and I hope they do. Red flag. Knew she was uncomfortable, but done it anyway. Despite multiple instances of Peggy leaving the room rather than change in front of him, as she should. Upton dismissed her reaction as prejudice rather than a reasonable expectation of female-only spaces. Well, we're assuming that this guy, right? Let's just put our cards on the table. Let's just put all the cards on the table right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is a mentally ill individual. This doctor, so-called Dr. Upton. And I wouldn't want them near any of my family if they're ever patients. I wouldn't want them anywhere near them because it's a mentally unstable, mentally unwell person. And they shouldn't be in the medical practice. I'll tell you that. That's cards on the table. So let's look at this through the lens of the fact that Dr. Upton is mentally ill. Mentally ill. A key part of the morning session focused on whether self-ID would allow any man to enter female-only spaces. Cunningham used the example of Pete, a hypothetical male claiming to be a woman, to highlight the flaw in Upton's argument. It's just, honestly, it reads. Although this is like for like play by play on exactly what happened. Play for play, like for like. We'll get to this comment. The Sons of Struth Football Academy. We'll get to this one. How can a doctor not identify his own genitals? We'll get to that. Thank you for the comment, my friend. We'll get to that. Cunningham used the example of Pete, hypothetical male claiming to be a woman, to highlight the flaw in Upton's argument. He admitted that sincerity is difficult to judge, and that a woman would have no way of knowing if a trans-identifying male was genuine. This was a major concession, as it undermines the entire premise of self-ID, as if it needed any undermining at all. As if it needed any undermining at all, ladies and gentlemen. And see the image that the video that I made, almost coming up on 4 years. It was 4 years ago I made the video. 4 years ago I made a video, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This is just exactly what I said was going to happen 4 years ago. It undermines the entire premise of self-ID, which needs no undermining, let me tell you. When questioned on the purpose of single-sex spaces, Upton acknowledged that men commit more violence and sexual crimes than a woman. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Yet still resisted the idea that female-only spaces exist for privacy and safeguarding, rather than because all men are inherently dangerous. Cunningham countered that excluding trans women from female spaces does not imply they are threats. Well, I mean, see, the thing is, it doesn't necessarily need to imply that they're a threat, right? But I'm telling you right now, cards on the table again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm putting my cards down on the table. I'm putting them down. A man that's mentally ill pretending to be a woman that's trying to get into the changing room poses more threat than a normal man. I'm telling you that. I've put cards on the table. Trans individuals, so-called trans individuals, mentally ill individuals who need help, pose more of a threat than your everyday man. Just as women-only spaces do not assume all men are predators. Still, Upton insisted that keeping trans women out of female spaces suggested a belief that many of them were dangerous, failing to grasp the principle that these spaces are defined by sex and not by intent. Oh, see, this is what I'm saying with Boswell today. Very considered, very concise, very intellectual. Great account. Please follow them. In the afternoon, the session descended into a debate over language, as Upton refused to accept basic biological definitions of male and female. Now, this is very interesting. This is the part that spurred the actual title of this video. The Scots Doctor that doesn't do biology. I mean, can you believe this? In the afternoon session, descended into debate over language, as Upton refused to accept basic biological definitions of male and female. And this is a so-called doctor. Are they giving out medical degrees on the back of cereal boxes? What's going on? This person should be stripped of their medical degree. Cunningham stated that a biological female is someone configured to produce eggs, while a biological male is configured to produce sperm. Upton refused to accept this. Dragging the discussion into circular arguments that the judge eventually had to step in and clarify. The judge is like, hold that up, I can minute. Shut up. Cunningham then accused Upton of using this language game. And this is what it is. It's a language game. Guaranteed you'll be getting the gender this, sex that, the distinction between gender and sex, when there is none. When there is no distinction. Matthew Middleton puts it, you can't win with these people. You can't win. It's literally impossible. They will take it to the grave. They are so... The thing is, when you've made the decision to go on puberty blockers, when you've made the decision to cut your genitals off, when you've made the decision to live your life like that, they're all in. They're all in, Matthew. And Matthew knows that you can't win with these people because they're so heavily invested. It's the sunk cost fallacy. You can't win. It's a language game. Cunningham then accused Upton of using this language game as a form of dominance. Oh, here we go again. Isn't that just the case? Isn't that the case that it's been this sort of the sentiment right across this trans debate all this time? They're taking the stance that they're intellectually superior. These people are saying they're intellectually superior. You just don't know. You're not educated enough to know that there's actually a spectrum of genders and there's multiple genders and there's not just one or two. There's not just the one or two. There are, in fact, 72. And in fact, it could be infinite. We've just not discovered them yet. This has been the sentiment right across the trans debate. They think they're the intellectual superiors, when in actuality, obviously they're not. Obviously they're not. Just as they had done over Peggy in the changing room. Jane Russell, Upton's barrister, objected, but Upton's refusal to engage with reality only strengthened the argument. I mean, this is absolute gold dust, ladies and gentlemen. This is gold dust here. Upton's refusal to engage with reality only strengthened the argument that this was about power, not identity. Again, they just want, Matthew puts it the best, they just want to force you into agreeing with them. They want to force you into this dogmatic view, their viewpoint. They have to win. They have to win. And if they can't win, they'll just burn stuff to the ground. Meanwhile, Upton complained that he had to disclose his trans status to the employer. Oh no. Oh no. He didn't have to do that, did he? And to be fair, I don't think he needed to do it. Just one look at the guy. Just one look at the guy. You don't need to disclose anything. We know. You don't need to disclose anything. We know you're a man. His employers knew you're a man before he had to disclose. When he says had to disclose, they already knew. Of course they knew. Just look at him. This is the thing with this debate. It only takes eyes to understand. You don't need to be able to read or write to know that all this trans ideology is absolute bullshit. He needed to disclose. I'm complaining that I needed to disclose my trans. They knew, mate. They knew. Don't you worry about it. Upton complained that he had to disclose his trans status to employer, calling it deeply saddening. Especially when they said to him, "We already know, mate." We already know. You don't need to disclose anything. It made him deeply saddened. Cunningham pointed out the obvious solution: keep male bodies out of female-only spaces entirely. Instead of acknowledging this, Upton suggested individual changing cubicles for everyone. Of course, let's uproot the entire system. Let's revolutionize the entire system. I want an individual changing room. Instead of admitting that he's a woman, that he's a man, sorry. Instead of admitting that this guy's a man, he would rather force the hospital into making retrofitting their entire changing facilities into individual changing cubicles for everyone. He would do that before he'd admit that he's actually a man. I mean, the mental illness is off the Richter scale here. It's absolutely insane stuff. Insane stuff. Effectively conceding that his presence in female spaces was a problem. Exactly. Cunningham pushed further, highlighting that women cannot tell by looking at someone whether they have a history of trauma or sexual violence, making the forced inclusion of males in female spaces not just unfair but actively harmful. The session ended with Upton being accused of showing complete contempt for women's bodily privacy and autonomy. This case is now fully exposing the true impact of self-ID policies, where women must either submit or be punished, and that is it. Boswell today absolutely nails it. Absolutely nails it here. Wonderful. Submit or be punished. And this, the trans people are right behind the punishment. Like, oh, yeah, punish them. How dare he call me what I actually am? I'm pretending to be someone else. How dare you? How dare you take my cloak of disguise off? How dare you unmask me? NHS Fife chose to back a male over a female nurse who simply wanted a single-sex space, and today's testimony made clear just how unjustifiable that decision was. As the tribunal resumes tomorrow, Upton's credibility is in tatters, and the bigger question remains, why is NHS Fife still defending this? What a wonderful tweet. What a wonderful tweet by Boswell today, at Boswell today. I would encourage you to follow them because they put out some, great stuff, very reasonable, very intellectual. I mean, that read absolutely fantastic. Excellent summary there, fantastic. Bloody brilliant synopsis, well done. Absolutely, it was brilliant. Thank you. What a succinct overview of such a chaotic hearing. Let's read on. Thank you for this excellent summary. Following along from the US. Because this trans stuff was right across the West. It wasn't just us. And everyone's fighting it right across the globe. Absolutely insane stuff. But we do have some interesting pictures. And we go to Kelly J. Keane. Now, if I've been to a few of KJK's events, and KJK has been like, I mean, in Britain, she's been the sort of the face of this women first movement of fighting back against this tyrannical, fantasy of the fiction of this transgender ideology. She's been the sort of face of it. And when she went to New Zealand and Australia, she got attacked. She got, she could have been murdered. These people are so deranged. She could have been murdered. So, and this wee thread here is absolutely quite wild. They all want to be their mother's or their wife. So, dear Mrs. Upton. So she's addressing this woman here. This woman on the left-hand side. Dr. Upton's partner. I was going to say wife. Well, is it wife, I suppose? Dr. Upton's wife on the left-hand side, who, out of all these faces, looks the most psychologically harmed. She looks like she's a hostage. I suspect your husband started with a little makeup at home that made you uncomfortable, but you thought it would go no further. He copies your style, your mannerisms, your walk. softens his voice and talks about himself, his body and clothing all the time. You know, he's envious of you and you've had to make yourself very small so you don't hurt his feelings. You know this is really narcissistic control, but it's hard to say aloud. In the first few months since he told you about his fetish, he would obliterate every boundary you held until you find yourself walking next to him into court after he's sexually assaulted women at work. Oh my God. And this is exactly what's happened here. This doctor, and I'm using massive quotation marks here because I think he should be stripped tased. I mean, this no right to be a doctor, especially knowing the frame of mind he's in just now. He's mentally ill, ladies and gentlemen. Mentally ill. Mentally ill. Let's take that off. You know he's envious of you and you've had to make yourself very small so you don't hurt his feelings. You know this is narcissistic control, but it's hard to say aloud. In the first few months since he told you about his fetish, which this is what it is, ladies and gentlemen, it's a fetish. He would obliterate every boundary you held until you find yourself walking next to him into court after he sexually assaulted women at work. It's not too late to leave. Get your ducks in a row and get out. Oh my God. Oh my God. KJK nailing it. I mean, see the whole victim in this, as well as Sandy, Peggy the nurse, who's just stood up and said, hold on a minute, I'm not having a guy changing next to me. I don't want you changing next to me. And it's ended up in court. Look at the faces in this picture. Look at the faces in this picture and you tell me the one that's most traumatized. It's the one on the left-hand side. It's Dr. Upton's wife. Right? Should have kept his mask on, but look at this. Look, keep your eyes on the earring on the right-hand side. Let me take that off now. There we go. Now you can see what I'm talking about here. This is this was astounding to me. This is Dr. Upton here. Look at the earring he's wearing. 1, 2. It's like a 6-pointed star. Let's go on. Who's wearing the little star earrings now? This is Dr. Upton on the left-hand side, their wedding photo. And this is the happy couple. This is the happy couple there in the left and middle. This is their wedding picture. This is Dr. Upton before he made his transition. His transition. Happy couple. Look at the earring she's wearing. And look who's wearing it now. If you don't think that is like the weirdest thing ever, I mean, I don't know what to say. This is just absolutely incredible stuff. What? So he's wearing the exact earrings that his wife wore on their wedding day. What was he raiding her jewelry box? What is going on? Has he assumed her entire life? Are they fighting over clays in the morning? What the fuck is going on here? This guy's mentally ill and he's no place to be a doctor, honestly. But look who's wearing it now. And that was posted by, I have to give credit to the poster, Top Girls, Sandwich Turf, Repeal Gender Laws. Who's wearing the little star now? He is. Oh my God. That doesn't tell you the whole story about this. It's so bizarre. Glenn Jackson says that, right, the internet's absolutely fucking wild. Finding the wedding photo, keyboard detectives are better than Scotland Yard. Absolutely. Weaponized autism here. Do you not think this is incredible, ladies and gentlemen? 500 people watching. Get the comments in. Tell me what you think about this. But again, this person has made it all the way to tribunal by trying to force his way into a changing room made for women, specifically women. And then he's been saddened by the fact he's had to, quote, disclose He's had to disclose the fact that he's transgender, even though they would have walked into the office and knew immediately. It's just hilarious. Well, 10 now, been on live for an hour and 20. Right, what I'm going to do, we're going to take this down the now. We take this down the now, and I'm going to put you up my classic Niall Fraser video. It's an absolute classic. It's a winner. And to this date, you know, it's got 6,000 likes. I can't remember how much it's got, but it's the only video on Twitter that I could find that doesn't give you a view count. I'm just not allowed a view count on this one, but it was viewed at last view, and it was like 200,000 times. So I'll put you up this classic video, and this was 4 years ago now, ladies and gentlemen. 4 years ago. Let's just play it, and you'll see.
I'm here at the Wallace Monument, a symbol of freedom, using what's left of my free speech to draw a line under the gender-bending, anti-science, pro-fantasy society the SNP have adopted for Scotland and its citizenship, like many other countries around the globe. You might not like what I've got to say here, but it's the truth. Sometimes it hurts, but the truth ultimately sets you free. There are only two sexes. There are only two genders. Any deviation from this fact is an attempt to deceive, an attempt to make you believe the unbelievable, an attempt to make you disregard the fundamental laws of nature. Scotland isn't the only place in the world facing this psychological assault, but we can be the first to defeat the wicked practice of confusing innocent children, the wicked practice of taking advantage of young impressionable minds. Convincing innocent children that they're born in the wrong body is diabolical. Anyone watching this that's considering transitioning, which means mutilating yourself physically or chemically in order to appear more like the other sex, needs urgent help. If you're in this situation, do not transition. Don't do it because you can't go back if you regret the decision. It's utterly despicable that we've got politicians in this country, in the ancient country of ours, openly promoting dangerous unreality. It goes to show just how far we've plunged as a society. Nobody seems to have grasped just how serious, how grave this situation actually is. So to visualise what the SNP and the Greens are doing to us, I've brought along my old biology textbook. This is what the fascist SNP are doing. This is what the pushers of gender theory are doing. They're setting fire to a millennia of knowledge and replacing it with delusion. It's time for Scots to wake up, otherwise the children of Scotland will have no future.
Isn't it prophetic that I'm burning a biology textbook and 4 years down the road we've got NHS Fife with a doctor of all people disputing basic biology? It's just absolutely insane. And I said in that video, we could have been the first to defeat this ideology. We could have been. If they'd listened to me now, if they'd listened to the women at For Women Scotland, if they'd listened. But no, they had to put it into law, didn't they? They had to put it into law. And then, fast forward to just a week ago, on the last show, we had this joyous occasion. And look at the fanfare here. And I want you to sort of focus in on the fanfare and just the love in the room. The love in the room of someone who is putting nails in the coffin of this ideology. Putting, they ended DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion. They ended that, and they proclaimed that America only had two genders, male and female, and put an end to this transgender ideology with a stroke of a pen. But just feel the love in this room for this man who ended this ideology.
And, I'm not allowed to say this politically. It could end my career. They're really beautiful people. These are beautiful people. But like everything else, it's a little bit different today. You're not allowed to say that because if you call a woman or a girl beautiful, that's the end of your career. But let's take a chance on it, Mike. Let's take a chance. So I want to thank everybody for being here. It's fantastic. And this is sort of a big, big day. It shouldn't have even been necessary to take place. This started a long time ago, and we ended it today. And I'm going to sign the executive order right now, and everything I said will go into effect immediately, okay? Thank you.
Down front. Thank you. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you.
You know, if you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay. Come on. Come on. Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we have big problems. Okay, do you want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature, because this is, this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Pretty good, huh? I see that. Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Nice to see you all. Great going, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you, kids. Here.
Everyone beaming ear to ear in that video there, because he's ended the tyranny of this transgender ideology. He's reaffirmed reality. That's what he's done. He's reaffirmed reality for a whole nation, and we've still got this pervasive, toxic gender ideology in our country. Venerating. What's Matthew Miller? You know it's bad when we're generating a man just for acknowledging the most basic of facts. Venerating. Yeah, this is again. Matthew Middleton puts it the best way. I mean, to get to this point, even Trump sort of touched on it there. It shouldn't even have been necessary. It's so obvious to everyone. It's so simple. It's so common sense that this should never have taken place. This should never have been in our society. It should have been struck down day one, minute one, as soon as it was even postulated. And the transgender ideology, it's only a sick mind that comes up with it in the first place. So, well said, Matthew. But, I mean, Trump's genius here is, he's very, very tall, Trump. And he's easily probably, I would say he's the tallest person in that room. But when you look at the image that went around the world, and I'll see if I can find it. Let me see the images. I just want to see the image. I don't want to see anything else. There we go. This image here. Share this one. Trump's genius here, right? Trump is the smallest person in this image, basically. He's made himself so low. It's either Trump's genius or he's just one of the best person to walk the face of the earth. Honestly, that image is absolutely amazing. Glenn's, he was the tallest person in the room, but it's full of children. No, there was women there too. Of course, look at the back. There's women there. Of course, there's children there because it's affecting children the most. They're the ones that are still competing in athletic events. They're the ones that have, that are having their scholarships stolen away by men masquerading as women. But what, they can't compete in the male sports, so they think they were just the number one in the women's sports. What the fuck is going on? No, Trump's genius here is making himself the smallest in the picture. Either on purpose or just it's in his nature. Do you know? I think that's just such a profound image. It's absolutely beautiful. You could look at that. This will be studied by people in the future. It really will. It's just incredible. But this sort of ends the transgender ideology segment. You know, we've had this rumbling along in our society for so long, and there's been, you know, I would say a few people up against it, but we've seen, you know, prominent organisations and people, you know, for Women Scotland. We've seen J.K. Rowling talk, you know, touch on the madness, myself included. Just, you know, it's so obvious to everyone. And, you know, the speech that I done at Holyrood, I wish I had the video. But, you know, I talk about, you know, the psychology behind it. You know, it's weaponized compassion and kindness, because you want to feel sad. Well, you don't want to feel sad. You want to feel, you want to help these people. These people. Who started the gender ideology push in Scotland, Thomas Ingram says. Well, it was the Greens, wasn't it? The Greens in tow with the SNP. But, you know, we'll touch upon the psychology of it as well. At the Holyrood speech, I think it was probably the best speech I've ever done. I think just sort of encapsulating it all for everyone, that you know, the SNP and the Greens and the pushers of this ideology, they've weaponized everyone's compassion and kindness, because they're just saying, no, just let trans kids exist. Let them exist. They deserve to exist. Well, you know, when there's no such thing as a trans kid. There's no such thing as a trans person. But they weaponize your compassion and kindness. You want to feel sorry for them, or you want to help them. But the way they help them is furthering their delusion, which helps no one. That's the defining factor in this. The politicians that have pushed it have weaponized people's kindness and compassion, especially the younger mob. You know, the people who fight back against this, against the people who believe in the truth, who know the truth, can see the truth with their own eyes, are mostly young people, or they're extremely mentally ill. I mean, you see, when you look at when I go, you know, sort of a flashback to the Sandyford Clinic protest, you know, you see all these young folk, and then sort of interspersed between the young folk, you've got like 40 and 50-year-old men, and you're like, why is this happening? And for me, I think it's because these people are so mentally damaged, so mentally vulnerable, that they're easy to groom. They're easy to groom, and there's got these elder men, 40 and 50-year-old, in amongst them all. It's dark. It's dark, ladies and gentlemen. Right, so that's, I mean, we've finished that segment. We've done the bookmarks. We've done all the images. In fact, we've done all the we've done Dr. Upton basically, and we've sort of encapsulated it all with the fact that it's not even tantamount to burning books. It's exactly burning books. And it's funny that, you know, I chose the higher human biology textbook that I used in high school, likely the one still used by Dr. Upton, used to attain her medical degree, and yet she feels the need to set it on fire in order to force her way into a female changing room. It's just despicable. Right, so we'll move off this segment. We've done the doctor that doesn't know biology, and now we'll move on to Keir Starmers HIV test. I mean, this will just be a sort of throwaway segment before I go to the papers, but it's just bizarre. Just really, really bizarre. So let's play. In fact, there's a segment on. I keep missing things. Because, you know, I ramble on for too long. But before we move away onto the other topic, we'll play the report that I think it's Report in Scotland done on this case.
A transgender doctor at the centre of an NHS employment tribunal has repeatedly insisted on being a woman after being called a man by lawyers during cross-examination. Dr. Beth Upton was giving evidence in the case brought by a nurse who was suspended when she complained about having to share a changing room with the doctor at Victoria Hospital in Kirkcaldy. Louise Cowie reports.
Surrounded by supporters, Dr. Beth Upton arrived for day 6 of the employment tribunal. Much of this morning centred on the use of the female changing room at this Fife hospital. Nurse Sandy Peggy claims that being made to share the facility with Dr Upton, who is a trans woman, amounts to unlawful harassment under the Equality Act.
It was put to Dr Upton that you knew some of your colleagues were unhappy. Dr Upton replied that as a trans person, I am aware some people are misinformed, uninformed or biased, bigoted, have transphobic views. I'm aware that people hold those views and I'm aware I might work with some of those. Nurse Peggy's solicitor continued, the reason they might be unhappy was obvious. You're male and it's an invasion of their privacy. To which Dr Upton replied, I'm not male. Why they might be uncomfortable is up to them. I would disagree. My presence is an invasion of their privacy.
The tribunal had previously heard that Beth Upton began transitioning in 2022. It also heard that on starting work at the Victoria in August 2023, a supervisor said the junior doctor should use the female changing room.
Much of this afternoon's proceedings centred on language. Dr Upton repeatedly insisted on being a woman when called a man by Nurse Peggy's solicitor, stating at one point, I'm biologically female. When questioned further, the doctor went on to say there is no agreed definition of biological sex. It's a nebulous term.
Dr Upton complained to NHS Fife about Miss Peggy's behaviour after an exchange between the pair in December 2023, which the two sides dispute, claiming that it was bullying. Miss Peggy was put on leave and then suspended in January last year. Dr Upton will continue to give evidence at the tribunal tomorrow. Louise Cowie, reporting Scotland Dundee.
It's just absolutely bizarre that this is happening in Scotland, honestly. But if you're in the trenches like me, this is just par for the course, isn't it? Par for the course. Wait, there is no agreed definition of sex, male and female. It's a nebulous term. This person's a doctor. We'll finish with what I started with the day. You know what I mean? See if and I don't care if people think this is transphobic. I don't care if people think I'm being cruel. Don't care at all. If I'm in hospital with a broken leg and somebody comes in and it's a man that's pretending to be a woman, I would also assume that they're pretending to be a doctor. What else could you say? It's just as feasible. Anyway, we're moving off that and we're moving on to Keir Starmer and his HIV test, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on here? Let's play the video.
Keir, thank you so much for being part of Testing Week.
Not at all, it's really important to do it. Okay, here we go.
Here we go, let's do it.
And it's just press here, is it?
Yeah, just press there. There's a little spring in it, so you get a little shock. It doesn't hurt.
Shock.
You were so brave.
Give a squeeze, that's
Nice.
it.
And if you want to pour that into the testing device, you let that go through. So add in the blue one. So you can order it online, so it's confidential, and you text through your results. And if it's negative, then you know you're free of HIV. And if it's a reactive, you go for a confirmatory test with your sexual health clinic.
It is always better to know.
It's always better to know, because if you know, you will see the best doctors and nurses in the country, and very quickly the virus will be under control in your system.
That's the point.
And we've got this big mission, which is to stop all new cases by 2030. So this is part of the way in which we can do that. Let's try and encourage all other leaders to do the same thing, because it's really important.
I don't think he's going to get world leaders. I don't think he's going to be able to get world leaders to follow his example of taking a HIV test. I just think it's on. That male doctor needs struck off. Absolutely, Thomas. I mean, this is what I'm saying. You wouldn't trust him as a doctor. That's the thing. You wouldn't trust him as a doctor. And what else is Thomas saying? Those that supported his delusions need sacked. Exactly. Well, they won't be sacked, Thomas. What will happen is NHS Fife will be forced to pay out Sandy Peggy. I'm calling it the now. They're going to be forced into paying Sandy Peggy. It'll be an undisclosed sum. Calling it the now. Undisclosed sum to Sandy Peggy for standing her ground. These delusions, they need sacked. They won't be sacked, Thomas, but, you know, that's just the way of it. You know how corruption rocks, Thomas. You've been through the mill yourself. But let's talk about Keir Starmer with his HIV test. I think, you know, and I didn't want to chap at the door for this, but I think a lot of people would have been crossing their fingers, hoping for a positive result with Keir Starmer there. Oh, dear God. But please come up positive, please. And I mean, the whole conjecture, it's just so bizarre that Keir Starmer's doing this. You know, it can highlight the need for taking these tests, but it doesn't need to necessarily take one himself. It's just so weird. Why is he taking it? Because he's not going to be able to convince. He won't be able to convince other people to take it. He just won't. No world leaders, anyway. So, I mean, you know, I just don't know why this has happened, but, you know, it does take me back to the segment at the start where in my report, the addict that we took into Morrison's told us quite openly that he was HIV positive and that he takes a tablet a day to make it intransmissible. And then the next morning, well, 2 days after it, I'm seeing Keir Starmer take a HIV test. What's going on? What's going on? We have a culture of licentiousness and drug addiction, no matter people have. No wonder people have HIV. Well, it's a culture of drug use here. I mean, Scotland must have quite a high percentage of HIV addicts, I think. Just, you know, per capita. It's really bad. And that was the first person I've ever come across who said they were HIV positive. And I met him on Saturday when I was investigating this safe consumption room, which is a misnomer in itself. Google licentious definition. All right, okay. Promiscuous and unprincipled in sexual matters. You could have just said deviancy, Matthew. Please help me out here. I'm no, you know, I wasn't slow enough a thesaurus. But yeah, great use of word there. But yeah, it's the sexual deviancy in our culture that's maybe the problem that's being pushed by people like the Greens. You know, and again, you know, KJK, we go back to this trans doctor. I mean, it's the fetishists. It's the fetishness. That's what this doctor is. It's absolutely weird. But I think that'll end tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I didn't have much to say about Keir Starmer's HIV test other than the fact that everyone would be crossing their fingers, praying that he comes up HIV positive. Praying. I did want to show people that I've got a Facebook page. I mean, look at that. Look at the terrible amount of likes on this. 9 likes. We're on TikTok. We've got loads on TikTok. You know, I make a few videos. Oh no, my video's got 666. We better go and correct that. Facebook page and a TikTok if you want to go and join. And I think there was maybe one more video. Yes, we'll finish off with a sort of culture video. We've just seen Trump sign an executive order banning men from entering women's sports, as if the point in our society has come where he needs to say that. And Matthew said it. You know, we're venerating a man for stating the obvious, but I mean, that's where we are. But here is Taylor Swift being booed at the Super Bowl. This is a turning point for our culture, ladies and gentlemen. Trump's getting applauded and celebrated, and the people who endorsed Kamala Harris and pushed this leftist ideology are getting booed, and rightly so. Rightly so. And we'll end with that good point, that the culture shift has happened. You know, 2016 when Trump won, Taylor Swift would never have been booed. 2020 when Trump won again, but I had it stolen off him, Trump would never have been booed. But now we are so far down the track now, and this ideology, this heinous ideology has taken grip. This leftist globalist sort of overtake of our culture. It's falling apart at the seams. You know, I say we're going to end, but you know, I glance to my left, and here are some papers. So we'll read through some of the papers for the next 10 minutes. Benefits free in free fall as 810,000 not in work. Scottish Daily Express. And we've got this one, second Labour MP unmask in vile WhatsApp group. We won't spend much time on this because I need to get off. We do have an infant in the house. 810,000 not working amid out of control SNP policies. More than 810,000 people in Scotland are out of work and not looking for any as they cite sickness and disability issues. Shocking statistic has been blamed on the SNP's out-of-touch benefits policies, which make it easy to claim. Critics highlight a more generous benefit system existing north of the border, which sees billions of taxpayer cash need to fund it. Just 2% of those on adult disability payments had been stopped in Scotland following a review. This compares to 16% of the similar personal independence payments, PIP, claimants have stopped in England. I mean, our benefit system is just absolutely outrageous. I mean, there's no other way to say it. There's no other way to say it. But I thought it was quite necessary to read the paper as soon as I went and bought it. But, you know, I'll read it after. And, of course, we've seen Rangers' shock defeat to Queen's Park. Despicable. I think I should start a sports segment on the show as well. We might read a wee bit of this. The second Labour MP unmasked in a vile WhatsApp group. Oh, no. I mean, this is like, you know, see when I read this stuff about, you know, Labour MPs saying bad things. You know, I actually think it's like a tactic to make them look sort of better, if you know what I mean. That they're actually people. Young Labour MP can be revealed as the second Westminster member of a WhatsApp group in which racist, sexist and anti-Semitic messages were exchanged. Oh, no. A private WhatsApp group with friends. Oh, no. How dare they be making jokes? Oh, no. Vile posts led to the dramatic sacking of Health Minister Andrew Gwynn after the Mail on Sunday brought them to the attention of Downing Street on Saturday. Now it can be revealed that Oliver Ryan, 29-year-old for MP in Burnley, was another leading member of the group where he posted more than 2,000 messages. Daily Mail has also learned that Greater Manchester Police are now assessing a number of complaints made about the WhatsApp group's offensive content. Oh no. In the private chat called Trigger Me Timbers, Mr. Ryan takes part with others in apparently homophobic banter as they joke about a fellow MP being gay. Turn to page 6. Oh, it's a big one. Oh, it's a big article. We're not going to. A series of posts. Mr. Ryan also makes cruel remarks about a local Labour leader and lifelong lollipop man in Greater Manchester called Colin Bailey. There were calls last night for Mr. Ryan to have the whip removed, and the Tories saying Sir Keir Starmer must take swift action. Former party chairman Richard Holden said, with such hateful remarks being spewed, getting to the bottom of this situation should be Keir Starmer's top priority. It should be Keir Starmer's top priority to investigate bad messages on WhatsApp. It should be his top priority. Aye, all right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, honestly, sometimes I hate doing the papers. They're just so galling, so annoying, so brutal to read. Anyway, you've reached the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. We've been going for almost 2 hours now. I think we've covered a lot. If you came here for the sort of in-depth scoop on our trip report to the consumption room and the needles and the impact and the sort of the backstory to this, then I'm sure you would have enjoyed yourself. And of course, we sort of chronicled, thanks to the account on Twitter at Boswell Today, we chronicled the doctor and the Scots Doctor who doesn't know biology. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? And, you know, we even had my prophetic video 4 years ago. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for tuning into the Niall Fraser Show. Over 700 viewers right this very moment live. Incredible stuff. If you could do me a favour and jump over to YouTube. Give me a subscribe, give me a like, do whatever you want. But we need to pump the numbers up there. Of course, yeah, I didn't want to take his off X. I mean, X seems to be where all the views are coming from. So if you're on X, stay there. But if you also open up YouTube, if you watch a lot of YouTube, I am on YouTube at the Niall Fraser Show. Just search my name and I'm sure you'll find it. You know, the last live, we had the internet sensation Craig Houston on, which is well worth a watch. So that's been the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you ever so much for tuning into the Niall Fraser Show. It's been a spirited one. Again, over 700 viewers live. I can't thank you enough. We will be doing something special this week. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, but there's a special surprise broadcast that will be happening. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I might leave some clues in my tweets as to what it is. Pink Pillows is there. Thanks for the comment, Pink Pillows. So there will be a special broadcast this week. So we're missing Friday, but there will be another one. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to leave some clues in my Twitter feed that you can maybe pick up on and see what I'll be doing. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, it's now almost 11 p.m. I suggest you all get into your bed and start the day tomorrow bright and early. So thanks again for tuning in to the Niall Fraser Show. I'll be back on Wednesday, 9 p.m. as always. Friday, we don't have a show because it's Valentine's Day. I'm sure all you will be busy as well. So highly doubt it would have any viewers at all anyway. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for tuning in. And the only thing left to do is play the outro music. So thank you ever so much. And I'll see you again on Wednesday, 9 p.m. Bye-bye.